The home belongs to Priscilla Harris Norris.
Everybody knew her, you know, she was a nice lady.
This mother of 9 owned it, free and clear. But in March of this year, Priscilla Harris Norris sold that home, signing this deed document, even had it notarized, and gifting it to a company called Happy Home Hunters, LLC. Only problem, she died in 2014. If she passed away in 2014, who signed this?
That's a fraud. That's a fraud.
There is a document sitting in the Cuyahoga County property records, dated March of this year, bearing the signature of a woman named Priscilla Harris Norris, transferring her home on East 100th and 14th Street in Cleveland as a gift to a company called Happy Home Hunters, LLC. It was notarized, filed, and processed like thousands of other transfers that move through that office every single year. If you didn't know better, you would look at that document and see nothing unusual, just routine paperwork, just another deed changing hands in a city where property moves constantly. But here is what makes that document one of the most chilling pieces of paper in a stack of fraud cases that investigators say is growing week by week. Priscilla Harris Norris died in 2014, and that signature on the deed is not hers. The notary stamp is not real, and her family had absolutely no idea any of it had happened until a News 5 investigative reporter called them on the phone.
Immediately I thought that, I didn't pay enough on the taxes, so they took the home and they sold it. But when I called the county, they said, no, that's not what happened. Your mother signed the home over to these people. And I'm thinking, that's not possible. She passed away in 2014.
But a simple notarized signature on the deed took generational wealth from the family.
This is not a story about a complicated financial scheme or a high-tech cyber attack. This is a story about 2 forged signatures, a stolen rubber stamp, and how an entire system designed to protect homeowners processed a fraud so brazen that a dead woman's name was used to steal the home she spent her life paying off, and nobody caught it. Here is exactly how it happened, how the fraud slipped through the county's hands, and what it cost a family who thought their mother's biggest gift to them was still sitting safely in their name. Priscilla Harris Norris was, by all accounts, the kind of neighbor a street remembers. She raised 9 children in that house. She paid it off, no mortgage, no lien, nothing owed to anyone, and in a city like Cleveland, in a neighborhood like East 100th and 14th, that is not a small thing. That is a life's work compressed into a single piece of real estate, the kind of asset that gets passed down, that gives the next generation a foothold, that financial advisors call generational wealth, and that ordinary people just call home. Ernest Jones, a neighbor who knew her personally, understood what that house meant. Long after Priscilla's death in 2014, Jones was still out there doing maintenance work, boarding up windows, keeping the property from falling apart the way vacant homes in struggling neighborhoods so often do. Everybody knew her, he said. She was a nice lady. That was the condition of the property when the fraud began, maintained by a neighbor out of loyalty, watched over by a family that believed it was still theirs, sitting exactly where it always had, paid off and quiet and, as it turns out, completely exposed. Because here is the thing about a paid-off property with no mortgage and an absentee heir who hasn't yet transferred the title, there's no bank watching it, no lender sending statements, no institution with a financial interest in monitoring that deed. And according to Brian O'Malley with Cuyahoga County, that combination of factors has made properties exactly like Priscilla's a recurring target in a fraud pattern that began creeping up in Cleveland after the 2008 mortgage crisis. O'Malley's office now fields roughly 1 call per week involving homes being quickly transferred and flipped without the owner's knowledge. It was just like a criminal's playground, he said. Vacant, paid off, low surveillance. Priscilla's home checked every single box. What the fraud required technically was not much. Someone needed a notary stamp, specifically the stamp belonging to a legitimate notary located approximately an hour from Cleveland in Kent, Ohio. and they needed to file a deed that looked official enough to pass through a county processing system that handles 50,000 transfers a year. News 5 tracked that notary down and confronted him with the document. His response was immediate and unambiguous. "That is not my signature," he said. "That is not my stamp."
What about the notary who verified Priscilla Norris's signature? We tracked him down about an hour away in Kent. Is that your signature?
That is not my signature.
Is that your stamp?
That is not my stamp.
When was the last time you notarized?
July of 2021.
He suspects his notarization was forged as well. News 5 found other recent property transfers using that same notary stamp. In fact, here are 5 signatures with the same notary, but only one, he says, is really his.
He believes his notary credentials were stolen and forged, and he is almost certainly right. Because when reporter Clay Leeper dug into the county records, he found 5 property transfer documents all carrying that same notary stamp, and only one of them, the notary confirmed, was legitimate. The other 4 were fraud, filed under his name without his knowledge, using a stamp he says he had not used since July 2021. This was not a one-time mistake. This was a method. Someone had figured out how to replicate a notary's credentials, stamp fraudulent deeds with apparent legitimacy, and walk them through a county system that, by O'Malley's own admission, has no real way to stop them. The county processes 50,000 transfers annually. Staff are not handwriting experts. The check they perform is essentially this: confirm the notary stamp appears legitimate, then proceed with the document. That's it. That is the entire safeguard standing between a legitimate homeowner and someone filing a deed in their name. All they can really do, O'Malley said, is confirm it's a legitimate notary, which is exactly what the forgers knew. In March, the deed transferring Priscilla Harris Norris's home to Happy Home Hunters, LLC, was filed, processed, and recorded. The transfer was described as a gift. No money changed hands on paper, and Priscilla's family, her daughter, her surviving relatives, received no notification whatsoever. The home, on paper, now belonged to a company whose operators News 5 was unable to fully identify in available reporting. The playbook O'Malley described is straightforward once you understand it. Get the property transferred into a company name, then find a buyer quickly, sell it well under market value before anyone starts asking questions, and disappear with the cash. That move creates 2 victims simultaneously: the family who actually owns the property and has no idea it's been stolen, and the innocent buyer who just handed over their life savings for a house they have no legal right to own. You have the victim who really owns the property and doesn't know any of this is going on, O'Malley said, and the victim who just gave up their life savings thinking they're now a homeowner. Whether Happy Home Hunters attempted a resale of Priscilla's property is not confirmed in available reporting. When News 5 reached Priscilla's daughter by phone, she was not prepared for what she was being told. Her reaction, pieced together from the broadcast transcript, was pure disbelief. "That's not possible," she said. She passed away. Her daughter had been paying to maintain a property that, according to county records, no longer belonged to her family. Generational wealth, the thing her mother spent decades building, had been transferred away with 2 forged signatures and a stolen stamp. The thing is, there is almost nothing the county can do about it after the fact, and very little it can do to prevent it in real time. O'Malley described his office as stuck. His team isn't equipped to investigate fraud at the scale it's now occurring.
That unfortunately we do 50,000 transfers annually, and they're by no means handwriting experts. So all they can really do is confirm that it's a legitimate notary, they're licensed, and the license is current, and then they proceed with the document.
Clay Lepard, News 5.
They can flag suspicious patterns, they can field calls, but reversing a fraudulent transfer requires legal action, court filings, attorneys, time, money, and for a family that may not have known the house was stolen for weeks or months, untangling the legal mess can be a years-long process with no guaranteed outcome. No confirmed arrests are named in available reporting. No confirmation exists, as of this broadcast, that the deed has been voided or the title formally returned to Priscilla's family. If a secondary sale had already taken place before the fraud was discovered, an innocent buyer would have a competing legal claim, turning the family's fight for their own property into a civil court battle that is expensive, slow, and deeply uncertain. The system, in other words, is not built to catch this, and the people who are running this fraud know it. News 5 did report that Cuyahoga County is preparing to introduce a first-in-the-nation technology tool designed to flag fraudulent property transfers before they are processed, with details to follow in a next-day report, and that is something that is movement, but it does not help Priscilla's family today. What remains, for now, is the image of Ernest Jones, a neighbor, not a relative, not compensated, just a man who knew a good woman and felt obligated to protect what she left behind, still boarding up the windows of a house that belongs, legally speaking, to people who were never supposed to have it. A community doing the work the system failed to do. Priscilla Harris Norris raised 9 children in that house. She paid it off. She left something behind. And it took 2 forged signatures and 1 stolen stamp to put all of it at risk. Her family is fighting to get it back. As of this report, that fight is not over. If you own property outright, no mortgage, fully paid, your county recorder's office may offer a free property alert service that notifies you anytime a document is filed against your address. Sign up. It takes 5 minutes. Right now, it may be the only early warning system any of us actually has.